or so. So it wasn't just a computer sending you emails. I actually generated those. Thank you for coming today. I believe that this is an important first step for you guys to be exposed to some of the things that the graduate school thinks are important. Dr. Irene Aiken spoke to you this morning. I'll be reinforcing some of the things that she said and presenting you some new material. Interestingly enough, we have online students participating in this class as well. So I would ask during the Q&A session that you speak loudly so that the internet students can actually hear you through the speaker system here. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to cover today, some opening comments by Dr. Schneider, the program director, so he's going to talk to you for a little bit. We'll introduce some professors, myself and a few other professors who are in the program here. I'm going to allow you to introduce yourselves, and I'll give you a little guide sheet to tell you what I expect you to introduce about yourself. We're going to talk about the importance of a cohort approach to education. In effect, you are the 2015 MPA cohort. I would expect you to learn each other, to communicate with each other, and to rely on each other as a team. When I did my MBA program, I was shuffled through 2 years of an education program with a cohort. And I found at the end of those 2 years that those cohort members were by and large my best friends. We stuck together for 2 years, we graduated together, and I would encourage you to get to know your other cohort members. So I'll discuss some practical suggestions for success, grade expectations, graduate versus undergraduate expectations. This is graduate school, it will be different for you. Approach to classes, workload expectations. Some of you are going to be balancing work, life, school, family. It's sometimes can be a complicated juggle. Maintaining school-life balance, class selection and concentrations in the program, a little bit on advising, some things about online courses. I'll discuss the Writing Center, which you heard a little bit about from Dr. Aiken this morning, plagiarism, which you heard a little bit about, and finally we'll close with a Q&A session. Depending on the time we have allocated, that'll determine how long the Q&A section actually lasts, but hopefully we'll have enough time to get through it. Okay, let's go ahead and Dr. Schneider. One thing to remember, the camera's here, so the online students, make sure you're centered in this little screen.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, you'll make sure your face is in the upper right-hand corner.
Okay, I don't see anything. That's probably a good thing. Well, welcome. We're happy to have all of you here, and I hope we have a number of people online. You made it in. Congratulations. You got accepted to our graduate program. And we really want you all to be successful, because your success is a positive thing for us. It helps us feel good about ourselves, establishes a good reputation for the school. But I want to emphasize a couple of points today that I think all new graduate students need to understand. Dr. West has a brilliant presentation he's going to walk you through. And I will tell you, if I did this 3 years ago, and I think he's put together almost the same presentation I did 3 years ago, and that's because we all think alike. Your faculty actually do think this is an important program. We have high expectations of you. And the first thing I will tell you, congratulations on getting in. Now you must prove you belong here. Nobody is guaranteed a degree. What am I talking about? This is a professional degree program. This isn't like being an undergraduate student, where we're going to spoon feed you material, walk you through very carefully, and worry about you. This is a program where we're going to push you to excel. Think of it this way. You're going into the operating room tomorrow morning. You're going to have open heart surgery or brain surgery. You better hope that that professional, that physician, is what? Top of the line, right? Well educated, very, very, very advanced in their technique, and you want to trust your life to that person. I often say to our students, if they ask me, am I working hard enough? I say to them, okay, you're on the operating table, open heart surgery. doctor's ready to go to work. Would you feel comfortable if you knew he studied as hard as you do? Most of us would probably say, I hope he studied harder. I hope he studied harder than I did because I want to live. Well, here's the deal. This is a professional degree program, and we are preparing you to go to work in public sector or not-for-profit management. The things you will deal with are important to the lives of a lot of people you're going to serve. Making not just good decisions, but knowing how to assess situations, how to analyze information, how to navigate in the public sector is very important. So when you leave here with your degree, we're certifying you to be a professional in this field. And most of you will probably do very well and be successful. But I will tell you, we've had people not make it through. Now, sometimes a person will discover they didn't know quite what public administration was, and once they find out what it's all about, they say, well, maybe that's not for me. Sometimes people flunk out, and that's a good thing. It's part of what we're supposed to do in a professional degree program is perform a function called gatekeeping. Not everybody gets to be a brain surgeon. I couldn't play in the NFL. I just didn't have it, you know. Every profession is that way, including this one. And so if you don't cut it, we cut you. Now, why do people flunk out? Usually it's because they don't dedicate the time, or don't have the interest, or in some cases they cheat. If you get caught plagiarizing, and you heard Dr. Aiken talk about plagiarism, it's a death sentence in our program. You're done. So everything she told you about the technologies we use and our ability to spot plagiarism, remember that, and remember this, if we catch you, bingo, bango, you're gone. And we've done it before, and we'll do it every time we spot it. This is a professional degree program. We have the highest expectations of you. You got a great faculty that will go out of its way to help you, that will be available to you, but it's not going to spoon feed you, it's not going to coddle you. We are professional people in our own right. I hope you will learn about your faculty and their background as you get to take classes from them. Hope you'll be proud to know that they are productive in their fields. They do research, they publish, they have good names, good reputations. I would say the faculty you will be dealing with in this department, in this program, is not only the best faculty on this campus, but it stacks up favorably with faculty in any graduate program in the country. And I include the JFK School, the Bush School, Woodrow Wilson School, all the schools. And if you don't know what I just said, you aren't yet ready for public administration. Hopefully you will be soon. So welcome aboard. I'm not going to take any more of your time. I just want you to start on the right foot. I want you to get off to a strong start. Take everything Dr. West is going to tell you to heart. Follow his advice. Listen to your faculty. Okay, this is not a deal where you know what to expect yet. And certainly you're going to have to really trust your faculty, follow their instructions and their advice every step along the way. If you do that, you'll be fine. With that said, and having thrown my 2 cents in, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. West and allow you to learn a great deal from a very quick presentation.
All right, before I kick off the actual presentation, I'd like to have the professors who are here spend a couple of minutes talking to you. And let's go ahead and start with Dr. Nefshera.
You want me up here?
Yes, you'll
Okay.
see the camera. If you face the camera, you should be okay.
Okay. Hi guys, my name's Emily Nefsharam. I teach in the political science side and primarily the undergraduate side for our public administration students. So you will most likely see me for the undergraduate side of public administration. Occasionally, once in a while, I've had a grad class that has piggybacked onto one of my undergrad classes with some additional work. If that happens, usually in the summer, if it happens at all, that I'm here and wanted to let you know that I was here, and I'm more than happy to chat with you, especially if you have questions about work-life balance. As the think, the only faculty member attached to the MPA program that has a small children in my household right now. You're more than welcome. I won't be doing any graduate level advising, but again, my office door is always open to you guys. So,
Thank you. Dr. Anderson.
Keep tripping over myself here. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Gary Anderson. This will be, like you, many of you, this will be my first semester here at the University of North Carolina, Pembroke. I'm coming to you all the way from University of Nebraska at Omaha. So it's been about 1,200 miles or so, and I'm just getting settled here. I'll be teaching, at least this semester, a couple of the online courses in the MPA program. I'll be teaching the conflict resolution course, and I will be teaching the policy evaluation and analysis course. I'll also be teaching an undergraduate political science course, but I don't think you guys have to worry too much about that. But I look forward to getting to know all of you. If anybody has any questions about me, they can send me an email. It may not be up here yet, but I can give it to you right now. It's Gary, Gary, .Anderson, that's ANDERSON, at UNCP.edu. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Dr. Cooper.
So welcome everyone to the program. It's great to see so many people here. I'm Dr. Cooper. I am going to be teaching 3 online classes: the human resources, the disaster mitigation, and the community engagement. So if you haven't already signed up, I would love to talk to you after this session is over to try to convince you to join one of the classes if you're interested. I come to you from Virginia Tech with a doctorate in planning and globalization. And my interest areas, what I study is collaborative leadership within cross-sector collaborations within a disaster management context. So again, if any of you are interested in one or more of those research topics, I would love to talk to you after the session. But again, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, on your screen and on your paper, not that you'll be able to see it because it's so small, are some of the other professors who teach in our program. Dr. Albrecht, Dr. Barbie, Dr. Gianastasio, Dr. Hawthorne, where she met Dr. Snyder, and myself. You met Dr. Cooper, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Neff Sharam. We also have an adjunct, Dr. Sharon Fountain, and the administrative assistant, Amelia Elk. Raise your hand if you've had some dealings with Amelia Elk. Good. I'd like to see more hands. Amelia has been here a long time, and those of you who have worked with administrative assistants in the past understand their value. Sometimes they know what's going on better than anybody else. If you have questions related to how things work here, not advising, but how the system works, how the process works, the things that you need to do to graduate, Amelia Elk is a good first contact for you. So if you don't have her email address written down, make sure you write it down. It's amelia.elk@uncp.edu. She's very important, and she should be your first line of contact for administrative type questions. She'll be willing to help you. Okay, students, now you get to introduce yourself, and I get to listen to you. I'll leave this up on the screen so you know the format. I'd like you to tell us your name. What is one thing you hope to gain from this program? Why are you doing this? Unless you're a masochist, you are doing this for a reason other than the pain that it's going to create. So tell us what that is. I'd also like you to tell me what your biggest fear is. I remember when I went into graduate school and I sat exactly where you are on the first day of orientation in a Master's of Business Administration program. I had a lot of concerns. I want you to express one of your concerns. And then finally, I'd like you to close with one thing you'd like the class to know about you. Each student spend a minute or two through this introduction. A minute would be fine. Okay, and let's go ahead and start at the front row.
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha Irvin. As a result of my graduate education, I would like to open a local community center. I own a small daycare now, and I'd like to expand that to deal with older children as well as adults in the community. My biggest fear about my graduate education is just balancing. I have 4 children, I'm married, I work full-time, so this is something that I'm not taking on lightly. I know it's going to be a lot, so that's probably my biggest fear, but I'm also excited to be back in school. It's been several years since undergrad. One thing I would like the class to know about me. I love working with people, particularly children, so.
Excellent. Next.
I'll stand.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Tangie Harris. One thing that I would like to obtain from the graduate program, I'm very young, and I feel like public administration is going to be a big issue by the time I get way into my age. So this is a big one for me. So this is what drew me to the program. So I hope I gain a huge insight of what public administration is and what I can do to further help out the field. My biggest fear, I really don't have a fear about it right now because I'm just, I guess, saying I'm fresh and new to everything. I'm not, I'm a youngster, so I have no idea. I guess that's what my biggest fear is. Like, I don't want to, well, I'm a singer and I do poetry, so that's what I'm doing.
I do poetry too.
Really, that's awesome.
Okay, next.
That's scary.
It is, you're on live broadcast.
Hi, my name is Brenda Roddick. The one thing I hope to obtain as a result of my graduate education is one of my biggest dreams is opening up a therapy center for children of victims of child abuse, because there's not a lot of people out there to help them. They don't get the voice that they need from public administration or everything. And I want to be able to help create a center to help them get over it, because I had my family, but there are kids out on the street who have nobody. My biggest fear is the same one as always, failing. I do not want to fail in graduate school. I do not accept failure. And the one thing I want you guys to know about me is I already said I do poetry, so you already know that. I like to plan ahead. I'm big on making sure I'm on top of everything. So if you want help planning ahead, you can come to me. I do it all the time.
Excellent. Next.
Hello, my name is Tanisha. One thing I would hope to obtain from this program, I currently work in the Robertson County Health Department, so I work with teenagers directly, and I want to move towards the background. I want to be administrative. I don't want to work directly with people. So hopefully I could do that with this degree. My biggest fear is papers. I'm a country girl, so writing papers is very tough. So I will be using the writing center often. You probably will see me in the library. And if I know you're a great writer, I'll probably be your friend. I'm a great writer. I'll help you. Yes, thank you. One thing I would like people to know about me, or the class to know about me, I guess I'm just a people's person. I like to talk. Yeah. So if you just like to talk, come to me. I talk to you all day.
Next.
Hey everyone, I'm Chauncey Nandy Patty, and one thing I want to obtain is to get a PhD, and I'm a nursing assistant, so I want to open up a facility and possibly teach about administrative side of nursing and nursing homes. And my biggest fear would be failure, like she said, because I've had a lot of failures before, so hopefully I'll learn from them and I'll get over that now. And I would like the class to know that I'm only 20, I'll turn 21 in like a few weeks. So I'll probably turn to everyone for help because I'm so young and I'm just learning. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Next.
Yes, I'm Harold Haywood. I work for the city of Laurinburg and have worked for the city of Laurinburg for over 20 years. So what I want to be able to do is be able to do a better job of what I'm doing now. and also take on additional roles with the city. But because I've been there so long, somebody said the other day I've been there since I was 5, but not that long. I've been there so long that I can potentially retire in about 7 years. And so I hope that this will help me set up myself for maybe a second career, maybe an advancement over what I'm doing now, or a second career after I retire from there. Or just keep working there, that's fine too. My biggest fear is managing that work-life balance. Work full-time and then some, because I'm a department head at the city, so I'm expected to put in not just the 40 hours, but whatever it takes. So managing that is probably my biggest fear. One thing I want the class to know is I have twin girls that's probably as old as some of you in here. Now I know, since you said what your age is. My girls, they'll be 21 next month. One of them is also, well, both of them are students at UNCP Pembroke. One is in her senior year, undergraduate, and the other one just started her MPA, or will be starting her MPA online program next week, I guess. And so I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone.
Excellent, thank you. Next.
I'm Andrew Jaspers. One thing I hope to obtain is further my career. I currently work for Onslow County in emergency management. That's my interest. Emergency management, hazard mitigation, anything to do with disasters, anything like that. So pretty much career advancement with an advanced degree. My biggest fear, I got a couple, is family life, balancing that. I got 2 kids under 2. I got a 1 and 2-year-old. And then failing, like she said over there. I don't want to fail. And one thing you guys should know about me is this will probably be the only time you see me. I'm a complete online student, so I just want to come here and meet some people, see the professors, and I won't see you guys again.
Next.
Hey, good morning. My name is Charles Bell. Thing I hope to obtain this is kind of similar to what we just heard from a few people, but I definitely want to obtain a degree to further my career. I work for Cumberland County Schools. I'm in their transportation department. I've been there about 7 years at this point. So as anybody in the state agency knows, money is getting tight. So how can we better effectively manage the resources we get and provide a good service to our students? So I'm looking for ways to try to improve that and insights that'll help me there. Biggest fear for me about graduate education is, like you said, I'm a 100% online student now. I didn't sign up for it to be that way initially. I was going to be on Fort Bragg, but evidently I'm the only one who wanted to go to actual class on Fort Bragg that signed up this time. So I got switched into being an online student about a week and a half ago, and it's been about 10 years since I finished my undergraduate work. So actually learning in a new computer age and online program is much different than what I had been through in the past. So honestly, just the change, what's gone into the change from learning in the last 10 years is one of my biggest fear. Thing I want for the class to know about me, I have 2 boys, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old that are the center of my world. They're everything to me. And that's another reason why I'm here, is to advance my career so I can do better things for them going forward.
Excellent, thank you. Next.
My name is Leanne Rollins. The one thing I'd like to obtain is to be able to advance my career. I've been working for the state of North Carolina for 13 years, and I've done approximately 10 years in the juvenile justice system, and I'm currently working with DHHS at a state psychiatric hospital. And what I've learned from those experiences is that strong administration is key for those types of facilities to run smoothly, and I'm hoping to advance into a managerial position. Biggest fear, it's been a while since I've been in school. Like he said, the technology, I am doing it online. That's kind of, I don't know. And something you could know about me, love pets. I'm a part-time pet sitter. My spouse owns a pet sitting business, so it's going to be difficult managing everything.
Excellent. Next.
My name is Tina Frazier. I currently actually am an instructor at Rockingham Community College for the respiratory therapy program. However, my husband and I are ordained ministers. Our ministry is primarily for the youth, and so we're wanting to open up a youth home in Rockingham County along with a counseling center. And so with the state of North Carolina, in order to be executive director of a children's home, you either have to have the public administration or a social work degree. So that is my whole goal here, is to have that, to be able to run that, the nonprofit. The biggest fear is I wear many hats, and I have 4 children, like very small children. So anyway, just finding the time, which I think I can make it work. It's just gonna be difficult, but we're gonna do it. And I've told you almost everything about me, but that is my goal, and just finding the time. I do wear many hats, but I'm excited, and so
Excellent.
hope together.
Thank you. Next.
Hey, hi, Amy Cox. What I would like to obtain is just career and professional enrichment. I work here on campus in our undergraduate admissions office. I'm our office manager. So I want to use this to help me not only working on campus, but I also volunteer with a theater company in Fayetteville. Got my theater degree here. So I'm looking more into theater management and grant writing, 501c3, just working with the behind the scenes humdrum paperwork of theater management. My biggest fear is, like everyone else has said, the balance of working full-time, handling this, and having been out for a while. It's been a few years since I've been out. One thing you might want to know about me, although I got my degree in theater, I'm extremely shy up front. When you're acting in a role, it's a completely different thing. When you're just being you up there, it's a whole other world. But once you get to know me, can't shut me up, so. Same here. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Next.
My name is Dedrick Anders. One thing I like to obtain from this is better understanding in the public management part as far as career advancement. I'm a police officer in Raleigh. I've been doing it for 5 years, so I just want to be able to move up in the ranks as far as promotions and stuff like that. My biggest fear is just working full-time and being disciplined to do the work, study, and write my papers and stuff of that nature. Then one thing you have to know about me is I got my undergrad in criminal justice, police officer. I got a little daughter that's 17 months, so it's going to be interesting to try and get work done and focus on her too.
Nice. Thank you. And last but not least.
My name is Richard McCraw. One thing I'm looking to obtain, I'd like to move into emergency management I'm a supervisor for EMS in Caswell County, so nearby Rockingham County. Biggest fear is going to be probably collaboration online, using different tools, getting to know everybody in an online setting. Probably going to be difficult, but we'll work through it. One thing I'd like to know, for you guys to know, I love animals. My wife and I live in Durham with, we have 3 dogs and 2 ducks. And, so it's a handful sometimes, but we enjoy it a lot.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, I'll take that nasty camera and take it off of you so you don't have to be nervous anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, imagine doing what I do. I'm on camera all the time. One of the things that I noticed is that some of you mentioned failure. As a professor, if I've done my job right, you will experience failure here. If I'm not pushing you to the point that you feel stretched thin, I am not doing my job. One thing I learned in a PhD program is failure is necessary for growth. And so don't expect for everything that you hand in to be perfect. You're going to get some comments back on papers that are going to be hard. I might tell you personally, go visit the Writing Center, okay? So you'll experience some forms of failure if I'm doing my job right. The question is, how do you deal with failure? Some people deal with failure by curling up in the fetal position and saying, I don't want any more to do with this. Other people say, give me more. I can handle this, I can do it right, and then I'll come back for more. I hope you are the type to avoid the fetal position. Simply put, when you experience failure, try to do the job that you're being asked to do to the best of your capability. And again, if I'm doing my job right, I'm stretching you to the point where you will experience some form of failure. So you'll learn to not be quite so afraid of failure, if I've done my job right anyway. Okay, this is a slide about the cohort. I talked about the importance of cohort a little earlier. I'd like to touch bases on that again. One of the primary reasons for the cohort is so that you know that you're not alone. As you've heard, a lot of people have the same misgivings about this program and the same drives that you do. Put another way, you are all very similar in certain aspects, okay? And because of that, I think you'll work well as a team, as a cohort, and I would encourage you to get to know each other. Another part of the cohort aspect is you can help each other learn. You may be a bit apprehensive about telling me you don't understand something, but you're happy to send an email to another student and say, I'm not getting this. Can you help? My experience is that oftentimes a student who understands the material can easily help a student who does not, and sometimes better than a professor can, because you know what you're experiencing. Whereas a professor, I may not quite understand what you're experiencing. Building relationships, we talked about that. If you get to know each other, even if it's via email, even if you don't see each other because you're an online student, you'll build relationships. 10.7% of the US population as of the 2010 census has a graduate degree. As Dr. Schneider mentioned, this is a very elite crowd. You finish with this degree, you will be more educated than almost 90% of the US population. As a professor, I take that seriously. I want you to reflect my abilities to teach. In other words, I want you to be the best students you can possibly be, because you're one of the 10% who's made it that far with their education. So I take it very seriously. As many of you know, I'm your first year advisor. As many of you may know, you'll be taking 2 mandatory classes the first semester. I've told you which 2. And your second semester, those of you who are taking 6 credit hours, will take 2 mandatory classes. For those of you who do not work, I may allow 9 credit hours. Under no circumstances will I allow more than 9 credit hours. Okay? So if you're not working, 9 credit hours. Dr. Schneider has the capability of evaluating people for more credit hours if he so chooses. But for me, and if you're not working, 9 credit hours is the limit. If you're working, 6 credit hours. And I think you heard Dr. Aiken tell you that this morning as well. Okay? So if somebody says, no, you can't take 12 or 16 credit hours, understand that it is in your best interest not to do so. Okay? Close this page with get as much contact information as you can from your fellow students. I will send out, if no one has any disagreements, I will send out the email addresses of your entire cohort so that you'll be able to contact each other. I would encourage you during lunch today to swap email addresses or swap phone numbers, because you never know who in this class is going to be the one who gets it in a particular class and who will be able to help you and who you will be able to help. Okay? So get to know each other. Dr. Aiken, I never stand in front of a screen, but I have to because of our online students. Dr. Aiken told you what the grade is for exceeds expectations. What is that grade?
A.
An A. How about meets expectations?
B.
B. Does not meet expectations?
C.
And failed?
F.
F. There is no D. Okay, if you look at the 2 curves that are on the screen, which one of those curves, and since I teach statistics and research methodology, this is right up my field, which one of those 2 curves do you think represents graduate school?
Left, right.
The one on which side? The right?
For graduate school.
For graduate school. I would say that's close. The average grade on the right appears to be somewhere between an A and a B. There are fewer A's than there are B's. So that's kind of what we'd expect. Whereas undergraduate school, the normal curve on the left, or the bell curve, shows the average grade to be what? What's the average grade on the curve on the left?
C.
Okay. So in your undergraduate school, you may have expected the average grade to be a C. Here, as you can see from the grades, an average grade is kind of a B. You meet expectations. In order to get an A, you must exceed my expectations. Well, my expectations are pretty high. And so for you to exceed my expectations, you'll have to do a lot of work. to get an A in my class. I don't hand out A's. Many of our professors here don't hand out A's. Okay? So remember, if you expect an A, exceed my expectations. Don't just meet them. Hey, it worked. Okay, undergraduate school. As undergraduates, you learned, you were fed a question, and you were expected to turn some crank and spit out the answer. Your instructor might give you a question, let's say on a test or a quiz, and you figured out the answer and you wrote it down. That's represented by that little moving diagram on the left. It's simple. I give you a question, I tell you where to go find the answer, you find the answer, and you give it back to me, right? One question, one answer. In graduate school, do you see that mess on the right? That's graduate school. In graduate school, I'm not going to tell you the question. In general, I'm going to let you figure out the question yourself. At times, you'll also be figuring out how to answer that question. Right? I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to give you the tools so that you can figure out the many ways that you can answer a question. Choose the best one, in your opinion, and answer the question. And of course, you will give me an answer. Do you see the difference? One is simple. I give you a question, you give me the answer. The other is, you figure out the question, you figure out how to answer it, and then you give me the answer. And my job is to tell you, how can you improve each of those three steps? It's much different. If you're a turn the crank kind of person, this is going to be a stretch for you. If you can think outside the box and you can apply difficult concepts to a variety of applications, you'll do quite well here. My job is to teach you how to do that. Not how to answer and turn a crank, but how to develop questions, how to develop ways to answer those questions, and how to deal with the answers you get. Approach to classwork. Do lots of work outside classes, and I'll talk about this in more detail in a couple of slides coming up. But basically, especially for you students who are in the online program, you are going to be doing all of your work outside class. And you're going to have to be self-motivated to get that done. Everything counts. Undergrad is where you end the obsession with learning what will be on the exam and start preparing for life. I just spoke about that. I'm not going to give you a question and expect you to give me the answer. I'm going to rely on you to do that work. And my job is to help you do it better. Active learning, participation in classes, asking questions. Don't rely on being told. What do I mean by that? Somebody tell me what I mean by don't rely on being told.
Ask questions. Don't expect it to be given to you, I guess.
Exactly. So I may not give you the answer. You may ask me a question and I may give you some guidance. It's unlikely I'm going to give you the answer because I want you to be able to figure out the answers yourself. In undergraduate, you could rely on the professor telling you what you needed to know. Here, you've got to do some of the work yourself. I'll give you the parameters. I expect you to do the work. Workload expectations. At the undergraduate level, 1 hour of class, 1 to 2 hours outside class. That's what you were expected to do. At the graduate level, 1 hour of class translates to 3 to 4 hours of work outside the classroom. If you apply your undergraduate set of skills, i.e. you work 1 hour for 1 credit hour or 3 hours a week on a class, you may very well fail. Okay? So plan on 3 to 4 hours outside of class. Some classes will require more, such as mine. Some classes will require less. Full-time versus part-time. Most of you have dealt with this already. You've enrolled in a certain number of credit hours. Let me see the hands of those of you who are taking 3 credit hours. 1. How about 6 credit hours? And finally, how about 9 credit hours? Anybody taking more than 9 credit hours? No. Good. And I assume both of you are full-time students with no work. Is that correct? Excellent. We're off to a good start. Advisors. Somebody tell me what an advisor should do. In your own words.
Guide your education path to get to your goal.
There you go. I asked you at the beginning of the session what your goals were. My job is to help you reach your goals. And along the way, you may change your goals. You may revise them based on things that you've experienced, or they may stay the same throughout. Be open to change. For instance, if you take a class in emergency management, you may find that, whoa, this isn't what I expected. And maybe you switch to something else, like public management or health management. That's okay. It's okay to switch. Your job here is to take the classes you need to pursue the goals that you've defined for yourself. My job is to help extract those goals and turn them into advice that can help you achieve them. So, for our first year, my goal is to have you take the classes that I've set up for you to take. By and large, all of you have, and all of you will. After the end of the first year, you'll be advised by another professor who's associated with your core, or with your concentration classes. So kind of your area of expertise. So first year is me. Second year will be your concentration advisor. And we'll talk about that in a little while. Develop a plan early. Understand where you're headed. We have one student here who's good at planning. You should all get good at planning. Okay? Figure out where you want to go and how you're going to get there in the amount of time that you have. As you heard from Dr. Aiken, you have 5 years to complete the program. That allows you a great deal of flexibility, especially if you're taking 6 credit hours a semester. Begin thinking about your concentrations. As I understand it, many of you probably have an idea about the concentrations that you'll be interested in going in, and that's very good. Those of you who don't, that's okay as well. We'll help you figure it out. We, and the we in this part being professors, will make positive efforts to create a clear sequence for classes and tell you how to get where you want to go. It'll be easy your first semester because you'll all be taking the same classes. It's a little more complex when you start branching out with electives and your concentration classes. Speaking of concentrations, we have 4. Public management, the advisor is Dr. Albrecht. So, it is not too early to contact Dr. Albrecht if you're interested in the public management, which is kind of the generalist concentration, the most adaptable concentration, if you will. Emergency management, Dr. Schneider is the expert in that area. And by the way, he's written 2 books on emergency management. You are lucky to have him as your advisor. You're actually dealing with somebody who does research and who writes, and is writing books that are on the forefront of emergency management. Criminal justice, I don't have an advisor for you yet, but I will. I'll let you know who that advisor is. And health administration, that's Dr. Gianastasio. He's not here today, but again, I encourage you to send him an email and let him know if your area of interest is health administration. Wow, this chart is an eye chart. One key element, all advising should come from MPA faculty. All of your advising for the first year will come from me. I want you to ask me advising questions, not anyone else. Not Amelia Elk, not some other professor on campus, me, Joe West. Your second year and future years will be your concentration advisors. You will ask them questions and they will guide you. Advising is not sending an email asking for your PIN. Faculty will not respond. I certainly will not respond without a proposed class listing and a rationale. In other words, tell me what your plan is. Tell me how the classes you want to take fit into that plan. And then I will talk with you and give you a PIN so that you can register. Again, you won't have to worry about that until your second semester or second year because your first year is predefined. Those of you who are taking 9 credit hours, you'll be able to take an elective And I can certainly help you with that if you're wondering what electives to take. You should include developing a plan for the entire program. So sit down and chart out how you plan on getting through this program. How many credit hours you plan on taking, how long it's going to take, have some idea about where you're headed. My job is not to do that for you. You need to determine how fast you want to get through this program. Advising is not just about course selection, but it's also about career selection. I would be remiss if I encouraged a student to go into a field that I believe is not suitable for them. And so when I advise you, if I see a mismatch, I'm going to tell you. If I see you pursuing a path that I don't think is in your best interest, I will tell you from my perspective. Now, you're always free to ignore my advice about the path that you take. You're just not allowed to ignore my advice about the classes you take your first year, okay? That's it for that. Online courses. Let me see a show of hands of everybody who's online. Okay, half the class roughly will be online. Depending on your learning style, online can be more difficult than face-to-face. One of the reasons that can be the case is because you can't see me. You can't see how I express the ideas that I express. You can't read my body language. You're stuck with a forum post or an email, and that can create some difficulties for some people. One of the things about email or any online communication is that it's easy to misinterpret the information you're being given. And it's more difficult to ask a question sometimes to have the professor elaborate. I would encourage you, ask questions. For my classes, I create a question forum. So I have an area, everybody, whether you're online or whether you're face-to-face class, will post their questions in the question forum. Somebody will answer that. Could be me, it could be one of your fellow students. I would encourage your fellow students, or you, to answer questions when you know the answer. Rest assured, if you give a wrong answer, I will correct it. Okay? So I would encourage you, help each other. That's important. So being online saves commute time. You already know that, but it can increase the difficulty you have in assimilating the material. We just talked about that. You should expect to expend at least the equivalent amount of time online for each class you would spend on campus, plus the extensive preparation required in an online class. Put another way, most of you will not be saving time because you're not driving to campus. You'll be spending the time that you save trying to understand the material in an online format. My job is to make that as easy as I possibly can, but it's not going to be as easy as if I have you in my class in front of me, okay? So don't plan on being online being a reduction of the amount of time needed for coursework, and certainly do not expect it to be easier. Yep.
With regard to online, I would add as a helpful comment, don't treat it as something to make the minimal effort and get an assignment in and then move on with the rest of your life. Okay, if you're in an online course and there's a discussion board, it's not a matter of putting in a couple of lines and blowing the rest of it. No, it's interacting with the other students. It's having a conversation. It's participation. And we expect multiple comments. We expect you to be deeply involved in the conversation. Online courses are not correspondence courses, and they are not drive-bys. They are courses in which we expect you to participate fully. And one of the things that you can do, as I said at the outset, we want you to prove you belong here. And some of you started proving it today by showing up here. That's step number one. Congratulations. Another way of proving it, of course, is to be very active in your courses. Interact with your fellow students, interact with your faculty, particularly in the online environment. Don't just think, oh, I'm going to go in and put something in there so I'm done for the week. Participate in the full week's discussion and activity. And that will take more time than driving over here and attending a class. It's going to be more time in preparation, it's going to be more time in involvement, and we want you to understand that. Online courses are not a drive-by. It's a way of life, and you've got to adapt to that. And so that's what I wanted to say about online. And at the end of this, I'd like to make another comment at the end of before we go to lunch.
And by the way, interaction doesn't mean a post, let's say on a forum that says, oh, good idea, you did a great job. Interaction is actually digging into the material, looking at it from your perspective, and engaging in a meaningful discussion. And please.
A professional discussion.
Yes. In my classes, don't use text speak. Don't use the letter U for the word Y-O-U. I expect in my classes, when you communicate, your communications will be identical to your written communications. If you say something important, I'd like to see a citation in APA format style. Definitely do not use text speak in my class. And I think that probably is true for every professor's class. You are writing as professionals. Everything I read, whether it's an email or an online post, I expect to be the best possible writing you can do. Okay? That'll serve you well. The Writing Center. Some of you, actually all of you, will be taking my quantitative analysis class, your second semester here. In that class, you'll be writing, and some of you will receive a comment on your first paper to the effect of, you need to go immediately to the Writing Center and get some help. And if you do not, you are in danger of failing this class. If you see that, we talked about failure, don't feel like, oh my God, this is the end of the world, I can't do it. No, it means that your writing isn't at the level I think it needs to be, and you need to improve it. And that's it. I would highly recommend that you visit the Online Writing Center. They can help you online. You don't have to come down to campus. I would encourage you to do that. And you'll get feedback from me fairly early on in the process if I think that you need writing help. Okay? Plagiarism. Every semester that I've been here, one person in my class has been booted out of the program because of plagiarism. This is the first time that I've addressed a cohort on the topic of plagiarism. So you heard a little bit about it from Dr. Aiken this morning. In fact, she gave you an example from one of my cases. The student in question plagiarized a paper on the topic of plagiarism. Let's just say that student is no longer a student here. Okay? 5 types of plagiarism. Plagiarism of words, the use of another's exact words without citing the author, and without putting the citation in quotes. Okay? If you take another's words, no matter where you got them from, they go in quotes, everything in quotes, and you add a citation. Plagiarism of structure. So paraphrasing in other words by changing sentence construction or word choice. So what you do is you read a sentence and you say, I'll substitute a synonym here and a synonym here and maybe change the order of the words, and there I haven't plagiarized. No, you have plagiarized. You've created this plagiarism of structure, and if you do that, we'll catch it because software catches that, okay? Plagiarism of ideas. Presenting another's ideas as your own without giving the person credit, okay? So you're not actually taking their words, you're taking a concept that they created and you're discussing it without giving them credit. So for instance, if I were to talk about the concept of representation in terms of the politico and the delegate and the trustee, those 3 forms of representation, if I were to talk about that, I would have to cite the author who came up with that idea. Okay? Even though I'm not using any of their words. That idea came from somebody, Walkie as a matter of fact, and I have to cite that person. Okay? So if you take ideas, cite the idea. Otherwise, I'm going to think it's your idea, and if it's not your idea, that's plagiarism. Plagiarism of authorship, turning in a replication of another's work as your own. So basically taking another paper, erasing whoever made it, putting your name on it, and submitting it. Yes, it happens. Plagiarism of self. This also happens. You take a paper that you turned in PAD 5000 and you use it again in another class in PAD 5050. You wrote the paper, it's a great paper, and you handed it in again. That's self-plagiarism. Sometimes academics are guilty of self-plagiarization ourselves. Be careful. Don't submit anything that you've submitted previously without permission, specific permission from your instructor. Sometimes I let students do a continuation of previous work they've done for continuity. It aids in their learning. And all the student has to do is ask. Okay? Second slide. How do we avoid plagiarism? Read the passage you would like to cite. I say 3 times, but you can read it as many times as you'd like. Close the document. In other words, don't be looking at it when you create your sentence discussion of that topic. If you are looking at the paragraph that you're citing and you read it and you write as you're reading it, you are going to plagiarize. You will commit structural plagiarization. Don't do that. Close the book after you've read it enough that you think you understand it, and then write. Don't look at the passage and write while you're looking at it. Okay? Don't plagiarize. We have perfect amount of time for questions. And then Dr. Schneider, do you want to speak before questions, Dr. Schneider?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can both answer questions as appropriate, but based on everything you've heard, I think I can add a couple of constructive things. As I listened to each of you talk about what you wanted to get from the program, it was re-emphasized to me that you don't know what public administration is yet. Because you don't know what the possibilities are for a career in this field. So one of the things I will encourage you to do, and I will be as constructive as I can and encourage you, and our faculty will be too, explore new possibilities. As you acquire knowledge, you're going to learn about different paths one can travel in this profession. You're going to learn about different occupations and jobs that maybe you didn't know existed. Don't just be thinking in terms of, I want a pay bump where I am now. Think about finding an opportunity for something that's really exciting. You know, sometimes having a goal helps us work a little harder. My daughter, and this is a story I tell everybody because I'm proud of my daughter, came up to me one day trying to decide what she was going to do. So I'm gonna work for NASA. I said, well, okay. Well, lo and behold, she got a degree in mechanical engineering. Today she works at NASA, right now designing the Orion's orbital space vehicle. Having a goal will motivate you. Now that's a heck of a goal to have, and it seems like a reach. Well, geez, I'm just a little old me from southeastern North Carolina. But if it's a goal that gets your creative juices going, chasing it with everything you got, you can get there. But maybe you don't have that kind of goal, but you will discover along the way possibilities for not just career advancement, but maybe new options, new paths, you know? So keep your mind open, and as you learn more about public administration as a profession, do not be afraid to explore new opportunities or new avenues for your professional life. We don't want you thinking narrow and limited. We want you to explore possibilities. And then I want to add one final thing about the balance between being a graduate student, working, a mom, a dad. It's tough. It's tough. But I hope you appreciate that when you have been accepted to this program and you make a decision to commit yourself to this program, that it is a commitment. Okay, graduate school is not a tack on or an add-on. You don't think of it as, I mean, we all love our families. We all have responsibilities with our families. And that comes first probably in terms of the moral order of things. And we all have jobs. But being a graduate student is not something in addition to, it's another responsibility. It rates right up there with your job, your family, graduate school. And you got to balance them all somehow. And one of the things that tells us you belong here is how you do in that balancing act. So just for example, this is a true story. If you want to show me you don't belong here, you do what this student did several years ago. oh, Dr. Schneider, I'm going to miss the next 2 weeks of class because I'm going on a cruise. It's my honeymoon. I said, well, why would you do that in the middle of a semester? Well, we've been planning this for 6 or 7 months. To which I said, well, then certainly you knew what the course schedule was and the semester schedule was. So if you've been planning this other thing for 6 or 7 months, you should not have taken courses. So here's what you do right now. You drop your courses, period. End of conversation. And don't come back and take any more courses until you're ready to be committed and make this a priority. I know it's hard. And we do understand that emergencies happen, crises, and we'll be very accommodating to help you if you have an emergency situation. But don't come to me and say you got a cruise or something else in your personal life is getting in the way. That just doesn't cut it. Any more than if I come to you and say, well, I can't teach the class for 2 weeks because, well, I got to carry my cat to the vet and he's suffering a lot and I'm kind of stressed. No, we handle life just as you do. And believe me, you may not believe it, your professors may have more responsibilities than you do in some respects. We're just as busy as you are. So we do understand, but we want you to understand that when you are in this program, it is a commitment that we expect you to be serious about. That said, that's all I need to say. I guess Dr. West and I can both take questions if you have any. And then, of course, we will all go to lunch. You get a free lunch today. Who said there's no free lunch? We got a free lunch today. Except for you folks at home, you'll have to go to the fridge. Okay.
Okay. Questions? Anybody? Please ask me questions. Yes.
Are any of the classes recorded that we're able to see any lectures online?
That's a great question. And as a matter of fact, some of them are. So for instance, I teach next semester, I'll be teaching an online course and a face-to-face course in quantitative analysis. I will teach it in this room. It will be transmitted live to the internet students who will be able to ask questions over the internet, who will be able to engage with me, and it will also be recorded so that at some later date, currently it's iTunes University, but we're changing that, you can download the recording and see the class and watch it as many times as you would like. And actually, that's an area where we're growing in this department, encouraging other professors to combine their classes and do online presentations of that class. Because I've found certainly that it helps students.
And that will be available to all students on campus then? So.
That's correct. It'll be available to all students who are enrolled in the course. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Would you mind going over the capstone paper that's required?
Well, that's the very last thing you will do.
Right.
Okay? That's the very last thing you will do. And by that time, you will have had many discussions about it with your faculty. But what that is, it's what we call a professional research assignment. And it's probably going to be a topic in your area of expertise. If you're in emergency management, you might be working in that area. It can involve working, doing an empirical study, maybe doing some assessment of a hazard mitigation plan, or doing a hazard mitigation plan of some kind. Or it might be a conceptual, theoretical piece of research. It can be any kind of research in your area of specialization, in your concentration field. And think in terms, and just to give you something to think about as you go through your curriculum, when you think about that final paper, that professional research, use as your role model some of the journal articles you're going to read in your field. When you read in EM, you'll be reading articles in the Journal of Emergency Management or the International Journal of Disaster Prevention and Management, whatever. Those are good role models for the type of writing, the type of research, the type of product we want you to produce with your professional paper. That's a good role model. And again, you'll receive a lot of instruction as you get there. And then when you get to that semester where you're doing that paper, you'll be enrolled in a course where we will have it set up in an iterative fashion. I can't say that word, iterative. Handicap. So we have incremental steps we take you through to get this done in the course of 4 months.
And one thing I would encourage you to do as you go through this program and you find articles that you're reading, if you find something that's interesting to you, take notes. So create like I would create an entry in a little notebook that I have that says, here's an interesting topic that I may use for this final paper. When you go through my quantitative analysis class, be thinking about how could I apply quantitative analysis to the paper that I'm going to write. Nothing would make me happier than to see a quantitative concept paper.
And in addition to that, you may pick up some theoretical things, like if you're in the policy class and you learn about, Bardak's 8-step policy analysis. That might be something you could implement in doing some policy analysis in your. So you will pick up as you go through the core courses and your concentration courses a lot of things that can help you. You may even, based on a paper you did in a class, discover this might be the topic I want to work on for my professional paper.
Yep. So take lots of notes, and I think that'll help you by the time you get to the point where you need to write that paper. Other questions? Come on, there's got to be more. Yes?
How many online students are there in this cohort?
Well, we saw roughly half the class is online. I would actually say probably 3/4 of the total number of students.
32, probably 23 or 4 are online.
And are the face-to-face classes versus the online classes, the material and how, of course not how it's taught, but pretty much the syllabus, is that pretty identical?
So it is for me. That's not to say that it is for every instructor.
It is for me. It's identical.
So you have sample size of 2, that it is. Put another way, my online students don't get a break in the requirements because they're online students. They have to work.
And put in a more pleasant way, my online students aren't burdened with having to look at me. It can be an advantage.
But I teach in this room, and so my online students do have to look at me, so they don't get that.
Well, and we do put up videos, lectures once in a while too, and things. But
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
On the same token, say I'm here now and I get a job in Wilmington and I decide to move down there. Can we switch between being online or on campus? I guess it's an individual basis kind of.
So you would know the answer to that better than I would.
Well, it depends on how well you're doing. I mean, if you're doing really well as a student and you need to go switch to online, we can make that happen.
Okay.
Absolutely. We would try to accommodate everybody's professional needs. We've had, by the way, you will be pleased to know we have graduates in this program. Some of them have really excelled. I think we have professional public managers working in all 100 counties in North Carolina. And we've had many from out of state. I can't remember the name of that woman we had a couple of years ago, but she was very prominent in a national organization as well for public accountants, public budgeting. She's very big in that area. She was president of one of the professional associations. She was one of our students. So we've had some pretty impressive students.
We had a student last semester go to work as the development director in the city of Laurinburg.
Yeah.
So
and he didn't know about an opportunity like that before he started this
Right.
program. He might have had a different objective, when he found about, you just don't know where you're going to end up if you keep your mind open.
Exactly. Somebody down here, yes?
So for the online classes, they won't have like the fall break, they will still have an assignment?
It depends on the instructor again. I generally have assignments over the fall break. So there may be one simple assignment. I do, however, try to give you a little bit of a break, so it's not as oppressive as it otherwise might be. So you do get somewhat of a break. But again, that varies professor by professor, what their requirements are. Other questions? Well, we're about the time that I expected to end. If there are no other questions, we can leave. I want to say one thing before we do go. That is, if you do have any questions, please feel free to write me an email, okay? And I'll respond to your emails as best I can.
And re-emphasizing something else Dr. West said, from this moment forward, this program is your daddy. not the graduate school. Any questions you have about the degree program, about requirements for courses, academics, come straight to us. If you have clerical questions, you can send those to Ms. Amelia.
Right.
you need academic advice, it comes from your advisor. If you want to have, and you can have conversations with all your faculty. In fact, I encourage you, as you learn about public administration, if there are things you want to talk about with your faculty, if you're in EM or someplace, you want to talk to some of the faculty in that area about career or about planning your future, by all means do so.
Right, yeah, and I suggested that you contact your concentration advisor if you kind of know where you want to go. Contact them. Open the door to communications now. I think it will serve you well.
And again, professional relationships are as important as personal relationships. The relationships you develop with each other can lead to opportunities later in life that you can't imagine. And developing professional relationships with your faculty. But don't think of your faculty as teachers. I don't like being called a teacher. I'm not a teacher, I'm a political scientist. One of the things I do is I teach, because I know stuff. And I know stuff because I do a lot of other work. That's very important. And if I didn't do that other work, I don't need to be a teacher. So don't call me a teacher.
By the way, one of the things that I found
I'm a professor.
in my MPA cohort, I think I told you I did the cohort work with my MBA. What happened is after we graduated, lots of people found new jobs through the connections of that cohort. So don't just look at each other as, you can help me get through school. Ultimately, you could be a link to another program or a job that will pay handsomely in the future.
And you say you're not going to come back to campus again. I wouldn't count on that. Even if you're an online student, you may want to take one of our summer intent sessions where you actually live on campus for a couple of weeks and interact with students in that environment. You certainly may want to come for social events that we have, if possible. I mean, I don't expect you to drive 6 hours.
Right.
But, if we have speakers or something, I mean, you need to kind of be open to the possibility that even though you're basically an online student, if there's stuff going on within the program that may be of interest, you want to be there, be a part of it. One of the things you see at the Bush School, the Woodrow Wilson School, the JFK School, they have a lot of forums where they bring in experts to talk about a lot of interesting and important things in research. Well, we don't do that. Maybe we'll start doing some of that. We have other programs and things that will happen, including each spring a dinner that we'd like to have you all come to. So don't rule out the possibility of setting foot on this campus again.
Yeah. And as professors, we really like to see you. Rest assured.
And certainly when you're working on that professional paper, it might be valuable to come over and sit down with a professor in the office and walk through some things together and get some of that person-to-person advice.
One of the things I was going to say is, as professors, I generally like to see my students, even my online students. I mean, I get more out of the interactions than I do just by sending an email. So there's no need to be a stranger if you don't have to be, okay? Any other questions now before we go? All right, let's go have lunch.
Lunch, yes. That's what I came for. That's the only reason I'm here.
I'm also a